Please join me in an energetic advocate welcome to jumpstart our session, Susan B. Noyes.
Thank you, Tony. I'm not really sure who he's talking about because I don't recognize that woman. I can tell you all the things that I've done wrong with my kids and my son who's somewhere here videotaping. And I am an energetic, do my best, but honored to be here. Not certain really that I am worthy of that introduction, but thank you. I really want to thank Lisa and Tony and Jim and Kathy and the organizers for this opportunity. I truly am honored to be here. And I want to take your picture so I can show my mom. Okay, so will you smile and wave, please? Perfect. As Tony explained, Make It Better started as a small online community for women in 2007, and it has grown to be a very vibrant website with millions of hits each day or each year, 60,000 magazines, 24,000 email newsletters, an extensive social network. And that picture and a video of this speech will be featured in our Better letter going out a week from Sunday. So you'll be able to see yourselves. I do particularly want to thank Lisa and Julie Schaffner for the opportunity to be here. Lisa is a woman of extraordinary vision, and the words that she uses and that are being used to describe this symposium, collaboration, innovation, education, networking, those are the words that our world needs to move forward in really complicated, complex times. And that is why, even though I was asked to speak about work-life balance, I really want to talk to you too about why women are perfectly posed at this time, at this inflection point in time and place, to really move this world forward. And I think that we are all likely and able to succeed professionally, personally, and philanthropy, with some balance sometimes and sometimes not, because life is long and good. Julie Schaffner was a very dear friend, and fortunately for me, an early adopter and understander of the Make It Better vision. So it is thanks to her that I learned first about Advocate, because she spoke with such passion and pride about her work. And when she would say to me, like, for those of you who don't know or didn't know Julie, she was from the back country hills of Virginia, so she had quite a southern drawl sometimes. And I'm going to try to imitate it, and it won't be perfect, but Susan, you really should know about this. It's just marvelous. Just marvelous. And whenever she said that, she was right. And that's why when Make It Better launched that print magazine in November 2009, Lisa Laurent was our featured local treasure, because she is just marvelous. And this symposium is an excellent idea. Lisa and Julie are Make It Better women. They are naturally inclined to make it better for their workplace, their husbands, their kids, their friends, their schools, their churches, and if there's a little bit of time left over for themselves. And that means each of you are Make It Better women too, right? Because that's what we're asked to do as women. Mothers, wives, friends, daughters of aging parents. We're asked to make it better for everybody else, and that is why we're all struggling so with the topic of work-life balance. But because our world is crazy busy, fast-changing, and full of complex problems, the way forward really must include growing as many win-win-win scenarios as possible. And this is what women just naturally do. which is why I really think that we are each posed to be leaders and to really help move the world forward. And there's a lot of mounting evidence that women are the change agents for the future. And I'd like for you to think about 4 examples of this. Cause-related marketing, microfinance, social entrepreneurism, and women-owned businesses. Okay, I know this doesn't sound like it completely relates to your life, but it really does. Cause-related marketing, do you all know what it is? It's 92%, it's successful because 92% of educated, affluent women will change their brand loyalties if they think that that choice will make the world better. You know, food shopping, buying Girl Scout cookies, buying a cup of Starbucks, and not minding that it's more expensive than others because you know that purchase is supporting a family-owned coffee growing business in South America, and now it's helping to create more jobs in the United States. Preferring Costco over Walmart because you know that Costco gives better benefits to employees. All those examples, all of those are examples of cause-related marketing, and it's just our natural inclination to use our heads and our hearts as we spend our money, and that inclination is going to just naturally cause change for the better. Social entrepreneurism, as you probably know, is Kiva.org is a good example. And there is around the world, especially in third world countries, a movement of microfinance funding women-owned businesses where they farm a small plot of land or they start a weaving business and they take the proceeds from that and make sure their kids get an education and better health care. They reinvest in the business, they improve their home, and they pay back the loan on time. And that has been far more successful than the multi-million-dollar grants that preceded the microfinance efforts. Most significantly, women-owned businesses in the United States in the past decade have far outpaced their male counterparts. There are more small business startups by women, they are more successful, and they are more productive. So all these there's signs everywhere that thinking with your head and your heart and doing all the natural collaboration and networking and looking for a win for you and a win for me and a win for my community is the way forward. That sensibility was behind my journey to start Make It Better. As Tony said, I was a labor attorney at Sidley & Austin, which is a large firm in the city. After my second child, Pat Noyes, who's here behind the video camera somewhere, was born, I decided to stay home and had 6 kids. Thought it'd be more fun to lay down the law than practice it. About the time Pat was off to college at the University of Michigan, Tony, where he was an athlete, and my youngest was in about 3rd grade, I thought, ooh, I need a life plan. You know, I have all this energy and I can see I'm gonna have some more space in my life, and what am I gonna do next? And I didn't really want to go back to practicing law, and I thought I have the opportunity to practice what I've been preaching to my kids. Find what I love to do and the rest will follow. And I really didn't know what I loved to do, besides laying down the law. And I'm about to describe to you in hopefully 2 minutes time what was like a 5-year journey for me. What do I love to do? Okay, I love to write. I like to organize a lot of moving pieces. I really do like to make the world better. And then I read Katharine Graham's autobiography. Katharine Graham was the publisher of the Washington Post, and thought, that's it, I want to be a publisher. And I think I had that epiphany about 2005, 2006, when it was becoming very apparent that the internet was undoing publishing. So I was a little scared about this new calling, and I happened to live close to Northwestern University, and I go to the head of the Media Management Center. That was a cross between Kellogg School of Business and the Medill School of Journalism. And the man running it was named John Levine, and I said, John, can you teach me to be a publisher? My dad owned grocery stores. He started as a stock boy and sort of worked his way up, and I knew that I needed to start at the grassroots and learn my way up through good resources. And John looked at me and said, "No, Susan, you don't want to do this. You know, publishing's, it's all turned upside down. Nobody knows what's going to happen." And I said, "Well, John, it's my calling, so if you aren't going to help me, that's okay, I'm still going to do it, but I really wish you'd help." And he said, "Okay, Susan, as long as you understand two things. The future's about the internet, and it's all about identifying your audience, knowing what they want, where they go to get it, and who wants to advertise for it." So I do all my learning, and I sort of, you know, cherry pick, learning to write and edit and getting my articles placed. And I identified, I thought, okay, I better start with what I know, so I identified women who live in the northern suburbs as my audience. I lived in the northern suburbs for a couple of decades, and that's what I knew. And that's why we came up with Make It Better. And we started online, because online's first, and we just really follow what you, our audience, clicks on, forwards, comments on, loves. And we have amplified, we have built in amplifying fundraising at every single level we possibly can, because we understand that there are fewer hours of the day for all of us who are doing more and more, and we want to be able to support any good cause and good work you do. And in fact, we're going to be doing that with the Julie Wine Schaffner Foundation. It is launching a fundraiser. It is a wine fundraiser, and you'll be able to watch all these fundraising techniques in action. So that's who I am, why I'm here, and now I'm supposed to talk about three things: work-life balance, my mentors, and the choices and decisions I have made in my life on my way to this journey. Here's the problem. Do you hear very much work-life balance in 6 kids or sort of jumping into an industry that at the bottom of the recession that is sort of turned upside down? I can't really tell you that I'm a good example of work-life balance by a day or by the week, and probably not even by the year. Anything I've ever done is I've sort of jumped in and done an overdrive. So I don't have 2 or 3 kids every 3 years. I have 4 kids in 5 years' time, and then a few more after that. And I didn't sleep for about a decade. You know, as I was working on my education, I got so into law school that I missed my friends' weddings, or many of my friends' weddings. I cut short my family Thanksgiving dinners and family vacations, and just sort of did that in overdrive. So there is not, I don't live balanced days, but I live really full days, and what I do is sort of do whatever's at the top of my life to-do list and look at my resources and go after, you know, as many win-win-wins during the day as I can, and then I fall asleep at the end of the night. So I think that the most important work-life balance for me is going to be the big picture. If a well-lived life has a lot of seasons, I've had my season of family, I've had my season of volunteerism, I'm having my season of my new career, and able to sort of touch all the things I love in the same process. And I think there's an Irma Bombeck quote that I wanted to use. And she said, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left and could say, 'I used everything you gave me.'" And that's me. At the end of the day, I can usually sleep really well because I've used every bit of the talent and the resources I was given that day, but there was no balance about it. Okay, the second issue. What decisions or choices would I change in my past if I could? And I usually avoid what would you change questions, because you can't change it, right? You can't go back and undo it. So it seems a little, I kind of hate to put any energy into that, because I'm just trying to put my energy into going forward. But I'm a good student, right? I do my homework. So I have thought long and hard about this because Lisa asked. And this is what I would change. I wouldn't change my choices or decisions, but I would definitely change how I reacted emotionally to the results of some of them. I have let guilt and jealousy and anger and unrealistic expectations of others ruin too many of my hours and too many of my precious days on earth. And in truth, they almost destroyed my marriage. For years, I felt guilty about letting down the trailblazing women who came before me to open employment doors at large law firm offices. That was a really big deal back in the 1980s, and I walked away from that. That was wasted emotion, and it just muddied the joy that I should have felt because I had 6 great kids and the gift of time to be with them. My husband has 2 children by his first marriage, so he has not just 6, but 8 kids. And he felt, because of his divorce and work and other life circumstances, he didn't feel like he got to spend the kind of time with those kids growing up that he wanted to. So when this next family came along, he reorganized his life to be closer to our children too. I quit my law firm. Nick spends more time at home. Pretty soon we are really butting heads over ridiculous things when you look back, but they almost ended our marriage, really. I change diapers better than you do. I read books better than you do. You know, that's not the right way to do homework with them. I probably had a few other, all that organizational energy of mine. I was trying to say, okay, Nick, you go out and do something because I want to be the one in charge at home. So it really, we had to work really hard, a lot of therapy, to come back to the point where we remembered what we loved about each other and remember to count the blessings of all that we had together in life. And my mentors. So this is my best part of all. They're gonna see your picture, my mom and my godmother. My mother was the middle of 7 kids. She had 5 children. She was a graduate of Purdue University with my godmother. They were sorority sisters, best friends, and they married Naval ROTC fraternity brothers, best friends. Literally the day after they graduated. My father, my first father, ended up being a pilot in the Navy, and he was one of those right stuff kind of pilots, and he was doing test jets in formation when I was 6 months old and died in a plane crash. Another plane landed on top of his. That guy was able to eject, my dad wasn't, and my mom. I still can't imagine how hard it must have been to kiss him goodbye and then have the chaplain come knock on the door and say, sorry, he's not coming back. That happened in San Diego. I grew up in Indianapolis. My mom moved back to her family, the farm that she grew up on. We stayed there for a couple of years. She married another good man, had 4 more kids, started that grocery store business with him, went on to become a state senator that championed family and education and children and women issues. So I come by a lot of my organizational abilities and interests naturally by her. My godmother has an even more interesting story. Her Navy officer husband ended up leaving the Navy to become an academic, and he earned a fellowship to get his PhD at Columbia University, and the fellowship also had a little and by the way, the wives can take classes too, we'll pay for that. Well, she earned her PhD right alongside him while she was teaching school and raising 2 daughters. And soon after that, she was a professor at Columbia Barnard, and she was actually she became the country's leading educator. Patricia Albert Graham is her name. And she was asked to be the first dean at Harvard University, dean of the Graduate School of Education. And when she when she was invited to the faculty club for the big party to welcome her as dean, she couldn't go in the front doors. Because she was a woman, she had to enter through the service entrance. So we've come a long way, right? Because now Harvard University's president is a woman, Drew Fast. So those are my mentors. They're still alive. I'm still so incredibly fortunate to have them to have their love and support, and I turn to them all the time. Those are the answers. Those are the 3 things you asked me to talk about. I want to just take that right back to what I want to tell you, which is you may really be struggling with, you know, I have so much work to do, and I've got my kids, and I've got my aging parents to deal with, and, you know, I want to spend a little time with my girlfriends, and, oh, I am so tired too, and when do I get to take care of myself? But just know that all of your natural inclinations are setting you up to craft the very best future. And I think that, that I'm looking at a group of amazing women who are going to make a real difference in the world. And I'm very honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for that amazing talk. We are going to open up the audience for questions for Susan. We have roving microphones available for anyone. I'll get the question started. I have another question. You talk about how you reached a sort of epiphany when you realized that you were wasting a lot of negative and unproductive energy worrying about those emotions, and that you realize that your reaction to the events and situations around you is something that we can control. Can you share with our audience some of the resources you may have used? Was it a trusted friend? Was it your mother? Was it your godmother? Any advisors? Was it just a lot of conversation with your husband? How can you help us today? Because I know we've all experienced this to some degree or another. Come to that realization.
So I think women are really good at calling in the resources, right? So I talked to my friends, I cried to my friends, I talked to my, I found a good therapist, I prayed a lot. I have a really strong belief in God. And I think that it comes down to prayer, therapy, making lemonade, right? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And just waking up, learning to wake up at the beginning of each day and meditate a little bit on what you have, what you value, what your opportunities are, and moving forward.
Outstanding advice, and I think we can all relate to that. Any other questions for our wonderful, wonderful speaker? We have a question over here.
I love the way you affirm yourself and you affirm the women, and I think that that is a wonderful form of self-care.
Thank you.
You said he had 6 kids, and I can relate to that. I have 4 kids at home. And I just wondering, did you have to put your choices on hold, thinking that you made the right choice and then you put on hold? How did you deal with that? And if you did put on hold, and then if you did not, what would be your advice for people that had to put their choices about their careers on hold when they have so many kids to handle?
That's such a good question. Last night I had dinner before the Bruce Springsteen concert with my very closest first friend in Chicago. When we were both interns together at that law firm, Sidley and Austin, and then we both started in the same practice labor. And she's had 2 kids and has become a partner. So she's been able to work and take care of her kids the entire time. I had to put that choice on hold, and over the years I really would look at her and think, she's having a much more interesting life than I am, right? You know, she gets to read the newspaper and make a difference in sort of adult, interesting problems. And yes, it was hard, but I had made that choice and I wouldn't undo it. And fortunately, and I really like this, let's take this back to being faith-based. This was my journey. This is what I was supposed to do. And so I just had to pray about it and trust it was going to work out. But there's no one right. I don't think that there's one right, fits all. We all have to look at what we're naturally inclined to do, who our kids are and what their needs are. If you have kids with big issues, that makes it even harder, right? To not put something on hold.